This episode of Variant is brought to you by Audible.com.
Hi, this is Steve Niles, creator of 30 Days a Night, and you're watching the top 5 horror comic countdown on Variant.
Welcome to Variant. We love comics more than everybody loves Raymond. I'm your host, Arris. So because Halloween is right around the corner, it only seems fit that I do an episode or two themed for the occasion. So what better way to do that than to talk about 5 of my favorite horror-themed comics. Besides, I'm sure most of you love horror, no matter what time of the year it is. So as always, when I do top 5s, I'll be starting from a number 5 pick, working my way up all the way to number 1. So let's see what horrific awesomeness made it into my top 5. Number 5 on my list of horrific is Marvel Zombies. Not the newer Marvel Zombies run, I'm talking about the original Marvel Zombies run, which ran from December 2005 to April 2006. It was a 5-issue limited series. The story arc was and still is one of the best stories to happen for Marvel in a long time, and it was an instant hit. It's also one of the best things that could ever happen for a Marvel and zombie fan like me. The whole origin of the Marvel Zombie Plague takes place within the pages of Ultimate Fantastic Four issue 22, and is also based in the Marvel multiverse on an alternate Earth called Earth 2149. Sentry crash lands on Earth carrying an infection. Soon after, the Avengers show up on the scene and a zombie Sentry infects them all. Basically after that, the Avengers would spread the plague to other heroes, and before long, the whole world became either infected with the zombie plague or devoured. After a while though, our Marvel Zombies ran out of food, and it was really cool to see what would happen after that and how our infected heroes dealt with it. Now, our super zombies, as I like to call them, do for the most part retain their intellect, personality, and superpowers. So it's really cool seeing them trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with them for the brief moments they're not being driven by their hunger for flesh. Did you ever think you'd see Captain America craving a human foot? Didn't think so. The whole Marvel zombie concept was invented and for the first 2 runs written by no other than zombie writing genius Robert Kirkman, who of course is responsible for The Walking Dead. The art was done by PHILLIPS, who's worked on Batman and Incognito, but yes, this is a no-brainer read for any Marvel or zombie fan. At number 4, we have American Vampire. Now, off the bat, I just want to say it is written by Scott Snyder, who's been killing it on the Batman title. He actually just recently announced he'll be working with artist Jim Lee in 2013 on a new ongoing Superman title, which is a match made in heaven. Literally, some of the best news I've heard in a while. Now that I completely went off topic, let's get back to the topic at hand. American Vampire is about vampires as a population made up of different secret species and charts the moments of vampires' evolutions and their interspecies conflict throughout history. The main focus of this series is a new American bloodline of vampires born in the American West in the late 1800s, hence the title being called American Vampire. The main character, Skinner Sweet, is the first person to become an American vampire. He then starts a war against vampires and humans throughout history. The comic jumps back and forth a lot from different time periods in the comic, which is awesome. I also really dig the art, which is done by Rafael Albuquerque. I think it fits really well with the tone of the stories, and it just makes the comic that much better. This is definitely my favorite vampire comic right now, and I don't even think I need to say you need to check this out because it's in my top 5. Plus, if a comic about a bunch of different species of vampires doesn't interest you, you're crazy. So there's that. Making its way into my number 3 spot is 30 Days of Night. This was originally a 3-issue miniseries which was so fantastic it got made into its own feature film, which was pretty awesome, and I would say did pretty good justice to the comic. The comic/miniseries was also so successful they made it into its own ongoing monthly title. So if all that wasn't a sign I'm not the only person who loves this comic, let me indulge you with the plot. The comic is about an isolated Alaskan town that is plunged into the darkness for a month each year when the sun sinks below the horizon. But when the last rays of the light fade, the town is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires bent on uninterrupted destruction and bloody violent horror of repulsive raw human meat with fangs dripping of blood and gore. And only a small town's husband and wife sheriff's team stands between the survivors and gruesome death. So my synopsis of the book probably did one of 2 things. 1, made you go, F yeah, that sounds awesome, I'm reading that right away. Or 2, made you go, holy crap, that's disgusting. But I'd like to think most of my viewers are like, F yeah, Arris, that's amazing. The whole concept of the comic is really awesome and scary. I mean, can you imagine being stuck in the middle of nowhere, and on top of that, it being in freezing cold darkness, or being hunted by bloodthirsty vampires? No. The art in this comic is really stylized, which is done by Ben Templesmith. It gives you an uneasy feeling while reading and is drawn really dark and gloomy and really helps the storytelling a lot, which is written by Steve Niles, who did an awesome job writing and is doing an awesome job writing the ongoing monthly title. He also wrote for Simon Dark and Batman Gotham County Line. The comic is definitely one of the best comics you can read this Halloween, and it's pretty creepy. Do you guys like audio? Do you guys like books? Well, then you'll love Audible.com. Audible.com is the leading provider of downloadable digital audiobooks and spoken word entertainment. Audible has over 100,000 titles to choose from to be downloaded to your iPod, MP3 player, and playback anywhere, anytime. Choose from books in every genre like science fiction, thriller, drama, comedy, business, history, and more. They actually have a bunch of cool superhero comic books on there, so go check that out. Go to audible.com/variant to get a free Audible book download of your choice when you sign up today. Again, go to audiblepodcast.com/variant for your free audiobook. Sitting pretty at number 2 is Lock and Key. This comic is definitely a fan favorite, and that's for very good reason because, well, the concept is just downright awesome, which is no surprise as it's written by Joe Hill, whose dad just so happens to be famous horror writer Stephen King, which some of you are probably like, then why don't they have the same last name? And that's because Joe Hill didn't want to become successful purely because of his father's name. With that out of the way, Lock and Key tells of the Locke family and the family's ancestral home called Key House. It's a New England mansion with a collection of magical keys that each open their own unique doors. However, the Locke family are not alone because Key House is also the home to a relentless, hate-filled entity that will not rest until the forces open the most terrible door of them all. This title probably has some of the most suspenseful-filled moments I've read in recent comics. The story writing is just pure genius, and at the end of each issue, you're really like, what? Really? I have to wait a whole month to see what happens next? Which is really the sign of any good comic or TV show, just having the feeling of always wanting more, which is why I think most people read the series in trade paperback form, which is actually how I got into it. I really love how all the keys do something different, and if you read the graphic novel by volume, each volume focuses on a new key. Which, of course, I'm always like, what awesomeness is this key gonna have? The art is also great, which is done by Gabriel Rodriguez. His drawings really set the vibe for Joe Hill's writing. Lock and Key actually had a TV pilot shot for Fox, but for whatever reasons, they didn't pick it up. But if you're interested in this comic or already love it, you definitely should check out some of Joe Hill's other work like Horns, which is now being shot and made into a feature film, and also Heart-Shaped Box. First up for Wednesday, October 24th is Flash issue 13. Gorilla Grodd attacks Central City and the Flash is forced to team up with the Rogues. Next, we have Talon issue 1. This is a spin-off series from the Court of Owls storyline. It's about a man named Claven Rose who returns to Gotham City to investigate the fallout from the Night of Owls. Can the Court of Owls finally be defeated? Now we have Debris issue 4. This is the conclusion to this series, and I've talked about this series in our Image Comics themed episode. It's been a good read so far, so I highly recommend you picking up all 4 issues. And finally, we have Captain America issue 19. Artist Steve Epting returns for writer Ed Brubaker's final Captain America run. If you're a fan of good old Cap at all, this is a must-read. At number 1, which I'm sure most of you may have guessed by now, is The Walking Dead. Now, I've talked about this comic numerous amount of times before. I actually even did a Walking Dead themed episode, so I don't even think I need to elaborate on why I love this comic so much. Plus, I don't think anyone would question why this is in my number 1 slot. I mean, in my opinion, this is not only just one of the best zombie comics to come out in years, it's one of the best zombie franchises to come out, period. If you guys have seen the TV show, which I'm sure most of you have, you pretty much know what the comic is all about, which is a sheriff and a small group of people who stick together and try to stay alive in a world overtaken by the living dead, or walkers, or roamers, as they're referred to in the comics and TV show. The thing I like most about this comic is that it's more about the people and the characters in the story and how they deal with the zombie apocalypse rather than it focusing on actual zombies. But don't get me wrong, the comics are still full of zombies galore and horrific awesomeness. But like I said, I shouldn't have to explain why I love the comic so much. I think the fact that it's the number 1 selling creator-owned comic of all time speaks for itself. So if you haven't read the comic, what the heck are you waiting for? Seriously, go buy the trade paperbacks and catch up. And if you haven't seen the TV show, also, what the heck are you waiting for? You could actually watch the first 2 seasons on Netflix streaming, so no excuses, people. So read and watch and read, just get all up ons. Well, friends, again, that brings today's show to a close. I know there are a bunch of other great horror comics that I didn't mention, like I, Vampire, Hack Slash, Hellblazer, and so on. But that doesn't mean I don't like them. There are just so many good ones to choose from. So leave your comments and thoughts below. Feel free to like the video or subscribe if you so wish. You could also like our Variant Facebook page or follow me at Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. But I will see you next week when I talk about one of the best Halloween themed storylines in comics, Batman: The Long Halloween. Marvel, my kingdom. Ooh. Is that funny? No, that's not funny at all. Right.